Hey guys, I found this button while I was playing Clash Royale, right? This is a big button. It looks so good. Supercell have done a really good job on making it. And it wasn't until I built it, I realized how much of a mammoth it was. So we're going to tackle it. We're going to see how this goes. So this is from the popular game Clash Royale, right? And as you're looking at this, you can see that there's styling on the font. You've got a button underneath that looks like it's almost 3D. It looks like it's been built specifically, but I'm going to try and make it out of sketch elements so you can get yourself a button library out of it. So we've got at the top, we've got a bit of shading. We've got two layers of of lighting over the top. Looks like the lighting's really coming from the top right-hand corner there. We've got shadowing underneath, and we've got a border that kind of turns into the shadow at the bottom. So I'm not going to be able to make an artboard for this, but we are going to mask this and get into it. So we'll make that smaller, and I'm going to make a rectangle that's the same size as that. Now I'm going to round the edges to about 20, remove the border, and select the fill as this base color. Now with all my shadowing and all my highlighting, I'm going to try to keep the color, the yellow color, the same, and not try to pick lots of different colors, but use the same yellow and add whites and blacks for highlights and shadows. That'll just keep it nice and consistent, and we can just tweak the values and change the base color, and we get a whole new button out of it. So, where to begin? Look at this behemoth. All right, let's go with this. We'll start from the top. This shading up this top here, that's going to be inner shadows. So this first inner shadow, we'll move it up until about 12. We'll give it a bit of blur, and we'll make it that white. And we're going to make it a very soft white. We'll go 20. And you can see there's a second layer underneath it, so we'll add another inner shadow with the same set of specs. Actually half the amount, so it looks like it's exactly half. And we'll go put that to I think it was 30, but they're both 30. 20. 20 and 20. You can already see it's kind of made a nice shadow effect, but it's a bit more highlighted up there. So I'm just going to throw that up to 40 a piece. Make it really bright. The next we have here, I'm going to grab a rectangle and use this for this white shading that they've used here, this white lighting. There's no border in that. That's for sure white. And we'll say it's 20%. Now I'm only making it 12 pixels rounded because if I made it 20 as well, it doesn't actually match the corners properly. So when you're making inner rectangles, you got to drop the opacity, the radius a little bit. We'll go one more there. So it's 12 pixels either side. We'll make sure that kind of sits in the middle there. And that'll need to sit a bit wider down the bottom. And then we'll duplicate this by Control-C, Control-V, or Command-C and Command-V. And then we'll bring the second one halfway up the page. So that works for that. Now there's a little bit of highlighting or drop shadow down here, but it looks like it's richening the color, richening the yellow, if that's a word. I'm not sure. We'll drop that shadow down here. We'll drop the y-axis a few steps down. We'll change that to white. And we'll change the layer style to overlay. Black and overlay. So you can see that's kind of made it like a really intense yellow. Now it looks a little bit too strong, so we're going to bring that down to 20. There we'll go 20. Make it a bit more blurry. Don't be afraid to just kind of toggle the values up and down to get what you want. This is a really complex button, so there is no problem with tweaking it every now and then. So now we've got this, what makes it 3D, and we're going to make that with some cleverly placed drop shadows. So we will hit the X value nice and low to make that 3D effect. We'll set the blur down to 0, and we're going to select this color, the exact same color as the button. And then over the top of that, we'll set the exact same amount. So it is 0, 17, and 0. So it perfectly covers it. And we'll use the black to shade it in. We'll go between 15 or 20. 20 sounds good. I'm just going to see if that looks different with a multiply filter on. No, that doesn't do anything extra. So we'll just leave it as normal for now. Minimize the complexity. So at the bottom of this button here, you can see that they've gone really intense. And then there's like a little strip of white there. And we can achieve that by doing an inner shadow in the opposite direction. But instead of using the positive Y values, we'll use the negative. To draw it up a tiny bit, we'll make it white, and we'll bring the opacity down so that there's a bright white line. That hits around the bottom here. Now I think, now looking at this, I want to make this shadow a little bit darker. Move it up to 40. All right, so what it's missing is the stance and how it stands on that background. And what you'll notice is the yellow against the blue might not pop as well, but this border really, really makes it stand out properly and makes it work, takes it from being a UI element, sorry, an art element to being a UI element. So I'm going to draw a box around the entire shape, and I'm going to pick the border color as the same as they have it. Pick it from the middle, make sure it works. Same button radius of 20. Make the thickness the same. Select outside. You can see the difference between inside makes it inside the shape, outside puts it outside, and we'll turn the fill off. And the last thing we have here is there's a bit more of a shadow even underneath the button itself. So I am going to add one more shadow to the list of shadows that are inside this button. It's hectic. Just popping out underneath. And you can see that it's overtaken the other stuff I've done. You can just click and drag it and move it underneath everything. The blur is still set to 0. And it is maybe 30. Now you notice that it doesn't actually quite make its way around outside the border because it's making a shadow around the button, not the extra border that we've made. So you can change that by upping the spread until you're in the same width around. So it looks like it lines up nice and perfect. And then once that happens, you can drop the Y value a bit to bring it back up a bit. I might put like a 1. Oh no, there's no blur. I'll leave it, there's no blur. Okay, so that is the beginning of this shape. There is one more element up here I'm going to add, which is a oval. We'll drop that in, we'll rotate that to 45 and slot it in the corner. Looks like an intense light source kind of beaming down on it. So we'll change the fill. Just tweak it until we get our desired portions, and just kind of bring the shape in so that it doesn't go outside the boundaries, because that won't look nice. Got a little bit less, we'll go 50. Cool, that's a pretty cool button we've got there. So now we have this text. So what I've done to grab that text is you can actually download it for free on Supercell's website, and it's called Supercell Magic Regular. And it works perfectly. It looks exactly like here, and so we'll just add that in. You can see that I already have it running. And we'll move Battle right into the center of our button. We'll grab both of these and we'll press the middle line to make sure it's 100% in the middle. And then we'll change the text alignment to sit in the center. So this has a few sets of styling to it. You'll notice it has an off-white, so almost like a yellow. For the font, the white is quite jarring. It doesn't sit into the button as much as it should. And the second is a border. Now they probably custom made this text in Illustrator or something similar. So they'll have a bit more control of what they get to do with it. But what I propose is that we can get a border and we can get another shadow underneath with the same color, no blur, zero blur, and drop down the y-axis until it meets the same as what's above. So this was set at 0 character spacing, which makes it quite wide. So what I've done, and what was already applied there and you guys didn't see, was me turning this to a -4 value so that the kerning was a little bit tighter, or the tracking of the entire word was tighter. So you will see some things and how this is different to this. You can see that because this is defaulted to center, and on text you can't actually change that, you'll actually cut out some of your letters and it will look like the letters are thinner than what they should be. But we can't worry about that at the moment. We're not making custom buttons, we're just trying to make a flexible button. So, look at that. I think that's done, guys. How do you like that? So the next thing I want to do here is show you how this can be a reusable button. So if we grab all of this and we right click and we create symbol, and we'll call it button / stupid as fuck / Clash Royale, just so we get our directory right. We now have ourselves a button, and we can change what we want here by typing in anything else we want. Huge button. And you'll see there, that's one of the reasons that we need to edit it. If you put too much text in it, it won't actually line up properly. So we're going to edit this. I'll change it back to battle. We're going to edit this button so that it works nice and flexible. Another thing you'll notice is if I make a copy of this by alt dragging and I stretch this button nice and wide, you will see that the spacing for left and right between the lighting and the edge of the button is now off. And this circle that we made, because it's a shape, is stretched itself out and it no longer looks as nice as this does. So there's a few things we can change in here to make that work. We'll double click into it to edit it. That's a previous button I had. We'll remove that for now. And so you saw as we made this text really long that it went into 2 lines and it didn't actually make it, it actually cut the top and bottom off. So we can change that by changing the height allowed, and we can change the line height, currently at 96, sorry, we'll change it to 80, which will make it sit a little bit closer together and align it in the center. So now any text that fits around here inside this box will show perfectly. Okay. Might actually be better to drop that in. You want the text to truncate a little bit. Now, to fix these two side elements, these two lighting elements, you want to go to the resizing panel and you want to see what happens. See, right now with the preview, it resizes, and as it drags, it gets larger with the object. If we pin it to left, right, top, and bottom, so that it holds its size when it goes around, it'll now, when we return back to the instance, you'll see that it perfectly spaces itself along the button. Now we've still got that issue with this little highlight here. So if we grab that, and in his preview, we want to pin him to the top right-hand corner. So you can see now he is up at the top right-hand corner, but he's still growing in size. So I want to fix his size both horizontally and vertically. And now you'll see that he stays to the top right-hand corner and doesn't change size. Now when we return back to the instance, you can see here that it all works perfectly as you want. So you can make this button as big, wide, round as you want, and you will get the exact effect that you're after. And now the last thing I want to quickly show you guys is that if you don't like yellow, if you think yellow is a terrible color, all you have to do is just change these two colors here and everything else will work. So let's decide that we want we'll go a blue button. And we'll pick that as our hex color and we'll put it in the other spot where we saw it. And now we have a blue button. And we can pop that next to it, and we now have two different colored buttons. All right, guys. So yeah, that's it. That's how we use Sketch to build crazy buttons, and you can build the entire UI like that. And it's really good to kind of drill down into it to see how you can make it and how you can make it work in Sketch. So look, guys, I hope you like that. Follow me if you want to see more of this stuff, because I think I'm going to go further into games. And maybe next week we will build some League of Legends UI, or we'll go into some sort of complex AR UI. Thanks, guys. See ya.